Barcelona was never about who looked fastest. It was about who understood the new reality first. And that distinction matters more in 2026 than it ever has before. Lap times from this shakedown were always going to be misleading. Not because teams were hiding performance, but because the regulations themselves have shifted the priority away from speed and toward comprehension. With far greater demands on energy management, active systems, and power unit integration, the cognitive burden placed on the driver has increased dramatically. And that is where Max Verstappen's Barcelona test becomes interesting. While others chased visible progress, Verstappen approached the week with a very different objective. His focus was not on producing a statement lap, but on building an internal reference for how Red Bull's new RB22 behaves under real conditions. The most important thing Max learned in Barcelona was not speed, it was understanding. What many observers missed is that Red Bull arrived in Barcelona facing a fundamentally different challenge than its rivals. This is not simply a new car, this is a reset year. The debut of the Red Bull powertrain's DM01 engine, developed in-house with Ford support, represents one of the biggest structural shifts in the team's modern history. Expectations were high, pressure was internal, and reliability was still an open question. That context matters, especially when the week was disrupted almost immediately by Isaac Hadjar's crash, forcing the team to rebuild significant parts of the car while spare components were flown in from Milton Keynes. Running was limited, but it was not chaotic. It was intentional. As Laurent Mekies later explained, the priority was understanding, not perfection. It's still early, nothing is perfect, but we are already figuring out how to make it work best. That sentiment defined Red Bull's Barcelona approach. From the outside, Verstappen's Barcelona test looked quiet. No fastest laps, no dramatic statements. But internally, it was anything but passive. Verstappen was visibly unwell throughout the week, something he openly acknowledged after the test. "I'm ill, I'm a bit sick," he said, before adding that he would feel better by the start of the season. Yet there were no excuses attached to that admission. Instead, it reinforced the sense that Barcelona was about extracting value regardless of circumstances. Public perception often equates performance with visibility. Verstappen was working in the opposite direction. His feedback repeatedly emphasized what still needed improvement. "We have a lot to learn from this week," he said. That line is revealing. It signals a mindset focused on control and clarity rather than validation. Barcelona was not about proving anything. It was about learning. The most misunderstood data point from Barcelona is the 118 laps Verstappen completed on the final day. This was not an endurance exercise, and it was certainly not about physical mileage. Those laps were about repetition. Under the 2026 regulations, drivers are no longer simply exploiting a power unit. They are actively managing it. Energy harvesting cycles, deployment windows, and active system interactions now define lap construction. Verstappen's long runs allowed Red Bull to repeat those cycles over and over again, mapping how the RB22 responded under different operating conditions. Braking phases, acceleration zones, energy recovery behavior, and system transitions were all tested across extended stints. This kind of work rarely produces flattering lap times. What it produces is stability and predictability. That predictability becomes invaluable once the season begins, when decision-making under pressure separates good packages from great ones. The 118 laps were not about showing strength. They were about building confidence and complexity. There is a temptation to label the RB22 as unfinished or behind, based on its understated Barcelona presence. That would be a mistake. The car's performance was never the primary objective. Understanding behavior was. Mekies was clear in framing the test as an early exploration of capability, rather than a benchmark of competitiveness. The pride within the garage was not tied to lap times, but to reliability. To see a brand new power unit complete so many laps immediately was emotionally significant for the team. Under the new regulations, behavior matters more than outright speed. How the car responds to system changes, how it manages thermal loads, and how consistently it delivers energy are now performance fundamentals. The RB22 is not slow, it is still being decoded. And that distinction explains why Red Bull left Barcelona quietly satisfied, rather than loudly confident. This is where the real Barcelona secret begins to emerge. Red Bull's RB22 features a noticeably aggressive cooling and aerodynamic philosophy, distinct from several rival designs. Rather than operating comfortably within thermal limits, Red Bull used Barcelona to probe them. Cooling layouts were pushed, not protected. Battery temperatures, brake heat, and energy storage behavior were all monitored under stress. This was not accidental. It was deliberate discomfort. By exploring thermal boundaries early, Red Bull gains clarity on where compromises must be made and where performance can be unlocked safely. This approach aligns with Pierre Wache's development philosophy, prioritizing understanding over aesthetics. It also explains why the RB22 did not look optimized in January. Optimization comes later. Information comes first. The Barcelona shakedown was less about refining the car and more about revealing its weaknesses. That is the experiment most people missed. Red Bull was not hiding pace, it was exposing limits. Under these regulations, the driver is no longer just an executor. He is a processor. With more systems to manage than ever before, mental bandwidth becomes a performance differentiator. This is where Verstappen's advantage begins to matter. His ability to absorb information, translate feedback, and make rapid decisions under complex conditions fits naturally with the 2026 framework. Analysts like James Hinchcliffe have pointed out that drivers who can handle cognitive load will thrive. Verstappen's calm, methodical approach in Barcelona reflected that reality. He was not compressing learning into aggressive runs. He was distributing it across controlled repetitions. That process builds trust between driver and machine. In a formula where energy decisions can define entire laps, that trust becomes speed. Mercedes, by contrast, appeared immediately comfortable in Barcelona. That was not surprising. As an established power unit supplier with a history of thriving during regulation changes, Mercedes entered the test in execution mode. The team logged extensive mileage, with Andrea Kimi Antonelli completing a full race simulation, and George Russell consistently reporting a predictable, stable car. Russell emphasized that there were no major issues and no porpoising, highlighting mileage over speed. That approach reflects confidence and baseline understanding. Mercedes was not searching for answers, it was validating them. That makes the team look strong early, but it also reflects a different stage of the development cycle. Ferrari's Barcelona narrative sat somewhere in between. Lewis Hamilton's late soft tire lap delivered the fastest headline time of the week, serving a clear purpose. It demonstrated ceiling. Ferrari needed to show progress, and Hamilton's role at this stage is to push the upper limit while the team builds consistency beneath it. That fastest lap was real, but it was also contextual. It was a snapshot, not a foundation. Ferrari is still defining its floor. Hamilton's contribution is about stretching potential, not settling direction. Verstappen, meanwhile, was doing the opposite. When the noise is stripped away, the real outcome of Barcelona becomes clear. Red Bull left with predictability. The RB22's responses to energy deployment, system changes, and thermal variation are now understood in a way that lap times cannot capture. Verstappen's feedback helped define direction. The team now knows what to improve and where to focus. That clarity is more valuable than early speed. In regulation resets, performance curves matter more than starting points. Barcelona gave Red Bull the information required to accelerate. That is the secret. Barcelona does not crown favorites. It reveals intent. Mercedes looks ready, Ferrari looks capable, Red Bull looks focused. The development curve from this point forward will define the season. Early understanding often translates into rapid gains once competitive conditions arrive. Bahrain will provide the next layer of validation. But the groundwork has already been laid. What Red Bull extracted in January may only become visible once the season begins. So here's the real question. Are we seriously underestimating how fast Max Verstappen and Red Bull can turn data into race-winning performance just because they kept it hidden early? Or is Mercedes, with Hamilton at the wheel, already so far ahead that this methodical approach might never catch up? Barcelona does not give us all the answers, but it shows exactly where each team stands. Now it's your turn. Who do you think will dominate this season? Red Bull with Verstappen's secret weapon, or Mercedes holding the lead? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love breaking down F1 news like this, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to F1 News Breakdown, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next shocking update from the world of Formula 1.